r/AskReddit by Reddit and chill. Managers. What is the silliest reason you have had an employee call in sick? They're superstitious and refuse to work on any Friday that falls on the 13th because something bad always happens to them. The same person also once told me he cut his hand on a banana. I cut my hand on a slice of bread once, so the banana thing I kind of relate to. A friend of mine, when he was in his early 20s, called in drunk. Friend. I can't come in, I'm a pretty drunk. Boss. Oh, you're sick and can't come in? Friend. Nah, I'm just drunk, can't make it. Boss. No. You're sick. Right? Friend. Nah man. I'm just kinda drunk. Boss. Okay. I'm putting you down as sick. Get better soon. At least you could tell he wasn't faking. I once called in because I went too hard on leg day. And I never call sick unless if I am booked off. My boss didn't believe me and told me to come into work. Which I did. I was 2 hours late. The boss and the CEO saw me waddling 5 centimeters at a time and both told me to go home. I refused because I already put in all the effort to get there. Not gonna waste it. Interestingly, I became a manager and I'm lucky to not have gotten any silly reasons. That amount of pain is a danger sign. Happened to me once after going really hard on leg day. Ended up having rhabdomyolysis. Not really sick, but I know you're not going to believe this. Some homeless man broke into my house last night and stole all of my pants. I will not be able to make it in today because I have to file a police report and have no pants to wear. Turned out he had gotten drunk and put all of his pants into the recycle for some reason. My sister's husband did have to use that excuse when a homeless person broke into their house and did actually steal most of his clothes, including all his suits and most of his underwear. Also made lunch out of BBQ sauce and Vienna sausages. I'm not a manager, but I'm a floor installer. And I run my own crew from time to time. We had this one guy who is constantly complaining about how broke he is and how he needs to work so badly. And yet he just didn't ever want to actually show up. Here's a selection of my favorite of his excuses. There was a construction truck parked blocking his driveway. I thought, why not ask them to move? Someone had allegedly been messing with him and slowly letting the air out of his tires. Clearly they couldn't possibly be leaking. They were only 5 years old. Someone had broken into his vehicle under cover of night, removed the motor that operates the windows, and replaced it with a burnt out one on the driver's side. So now his window barely works. I mean, the car's only about 13 years old. Couldn't be wearing out by itself. We offered this dude a full-time job, with a guaranteed permanent position if he proves himself. He proved that he would rather come up with any reason to not work. I love this. I'm dealing with a similar one at my work. They were hired as perm before I joined. I hope you didn't offer this paranoid chap a job. Was a nighttime manager for a fast food place. During my first week I had one of my people that helped close call in 3 times one night to call off. Call number 1. Me. Hello? Girl. Hey. I can't come in tonight. I don't think I have a ride in. Me. Her sister works the same shift and is able to drive the car and is due to work that night too, so is your sister not coming in either? Girl. Yes, but I can't. Me. Okay, no problem, we'll make it work. Call 2. Literally an hour later. Me. Hello? Girl. Hey. I can't come in tonight. I can't find any pants to wear with my uniform. Starts sobbing loudly into the phone. Me. It's okay, don't worry about it. Call 3. About 3 hours into shift and her sister is there working. Me. Hello? Girl. Hey. I forgot to call to say I can't make it in. Me. Okay, well your shift started 3 hours ago, but it's okay, we are busy. Girl. I swear I'll make it up to you. Maybe we can go get a drink after you get out tonight. Me. Thinking what the duck is going on here? No, that's okay, just make sure it doesn't become a habit. Girl. It won't. Speaking with the girl's sister, I found out she had gone out with friends and was already at the bar. After we closed I decided to go to the bar I know she frequents. As soon as I walk in she greets me, says she is buying me a beer and said she was sorry she didn't show up. She was gone. The bartender asked if I was there to pick her up and take her home because if not he was going to call someone else to take her. The mom. You have got to be kidding me. Again? Apparently this happened a lot with the last nighttime manager, but they would go back to his place and he would sleep with her and in exchange he would fudge her hours to make it look like she was working. Needless to say she ended up fired. And the sister left due to going off to college. Well, that was a wild ride. When making her morning coffee, grounds got in her cup and then her creamer was bad. So because her coffee was all wrong she couldn't come into work that day. Duck in Mercury retrograde. Me, as an employee, called into the office and had to explain that I would be very late. A flock of starlings had gotten into a patch of berries and shat all over my car. It was bad enough I had to wash the windshield before I could drive. My boss, probably thinking bullshit. Nope. Bird shit, drives to my house and sees me scrubbing the windows, stops, pauses, laughs hysterically, then drives away. I didn't have time to wash the car until later that day. It was horrible. What kind of psycho boss leaves work to drive past an employee's house to check up on a call-in late excuse? That is some high-level bad management. And some scary stalking. Called in horny. Obligatory, not a manager. He was trying for a baby. Couple was deemed infertile. Going through all sorts of treatments and therapies. Dude calls into the manager and says his wife is ready. Manager told him to take the day off. A few months later they confirmed conception past 12 weeks. It was very exciting. But also strange. A happy bizarre story. I've got back pain. Because I fell off the back of a motorcycle. That's fine mate. Come in when you're well. The doctor said it could be the motorcycle. Or it could be my office chair. Okay. Well. If we're waiting on the results from the blood test. You're taking a blood test to see if your back pain is from sitting in an old chair or failing off a motorcycle? Yes. He just kept going until it was obvious he was lying. He had to keep going. You didn't already realize? This doesn't count because I ended up going in. Not proud of it. But my boss and I got a hearty laugh. I was a landscaper back in my later teens. I had gotten drunk the night before with my buddies because the forecast said tons of rain in the morning. I get home and pass out. Get a phone call in the morning from my boss asking where I was. Nearly comatose I say. It's raining. Isn't it? He laughs and says, get to work. I told him my night and my thought process. He laughed even harder. It was a good day with a hangover as well. The good old tomorrow's gonna be a rain day anyway. I'm getting wasted. Issue. I've worked construction for my entire career. And every time I decide to drink because it's supposed to rain the next day it ends up being a work day. It's a lesson you learn when you're young haha. When I was a manager, the reason given I most remember is my garage door opener broke and I can't get it up. That's two pretty serious issues to be dealing with in one day. I had a co-worker that would call in sick on release dates for new computer games. My BF just requests a vacation day ahead of time. Had an employee that had her mother call out for her because she had a little too much to drink on her birthday. Real story. The daughter was in county lockup for meth possession. Found her mugshot online. Once had a guy's dad call in when I was team lead on a service desk. Said he wasn't feeling well. We got curious. Turned out he was arrested drunk. Threatening his ex-wife with a pet bat. A story someone told me. His co-worker called in sick. But manager didn't believe her, so she told the manager that a black family was moving into her neighborhood and was going to make sure they didn't steal anything. She was arrested a week later harassing the children with a megaphone. Ordering them to stay in their property every time any one of them goes outside of their house. Holy shit. That's equal parts funny and sad. Hope the family laughed her off. Had an employee call in sick. Saying it was the flu. An hour later. He checked in at George Webb, Milwaukee restaurant chain, on Facebook. And posted a photo of himself standing in a line outside of the restaurant that was 3 or 4 blocks long. Waiting for a free hamburger that the restaurant was giving away because the Milwaukee Brewers won 12 games in a row. He's 30. By the way. Another good reason never to connect to co-workers on social media while you're still working there. It's a policy I've kept and it has always served me well. I used to work at a trampoline park and we had one guy who was super greedy when taking parties. He called the store one day and would only speak to me since I was his favorite manager. He asked if there were any parties assigned to him and I said no. He then replied with, "I'm not coming in. I don't feel too good." I told my general manager and he said bullshit and wrote him up for it. Mine is about a girl who called in sick with a cold and sore throat. On their return to work I asked if it had been started or caused by work, expecting them to say no. Instead they said yes. Surprised I asked them to explain. Well, I was making a pot noodle in the kitchen and the window was open. So as I was opened the sachet of powder, the wind blew through the window and all the power went down my throat. Hence my cold and sore throat. Phew. Sounds like all she needed was a drink of water, lol. Some of my favorites when I was a manager. I can't come in today cause it's too windy and I can't drive my car. I can't come in today because my cell phone broke and I need to go buy a new one. Calling from my friend's phone. I can't come in because I missed the bus and being an hour late won't be worth the money I'd make being there on time. I can't come in today because my work pants ripped and I don't have any other pairs. You can just wear normal pants today. No. That wouldn't be professional and fair to you. Full stop. No. That wouldn't be professional and fair to you. Lol, this is my favorite one by a long shot. Obligatory, not a manager but going to tell on myself for a silly out sick reason. I once had to call out sick because my mother brought home a puppy, set it on my lap where he fell asleep, and then left to go out shopping and I didn't know when she'd be back. I wasn't really a dog person and I was the only one home. And this was a brand new animal in the house that I had to keep out of things. So I called in because I had a puppy asleep on my lap. My boss was less than thrilled that that was my reason. But the way I saw it, I had little other choice. The dog didn't have a crate or anywhere I'd feel safe leaving him for 5 minutes. Let alone 5 hours. Still kept my job and got to explain the situation better when I went in the next day. Boss was initially angry on the phone but with more context and a chat with his wife, and he understood a bit better. Bonus icing on the shitty cake to that day? The puppy woke up at some point and started making a low grumbly noise. I didn't know what he was doing so I brought him over to my bed to pet him and check him over. Make sure he was okay. He needed to pee. So he pissed on my bed. Duck's sakes. Good job. You managed to get the same outcome by being there that you would have gotten if you had left the puppy alone. It was me. I phoned work to tell them I wouldn't be in because I had locked myself in my house. I had just moved house that weekend. Didn't yet have a key for the back door. Locked the front door Sunday evening from the inside and went to bed. Woke up Monday morning. Turned the key in the lock and it just sheared off, leaving the door locked from the inside with remains of the key in the hole. Had to ring up the letting agent and get them to come let me out with their spare key. Was 4 hours late to work. There was much piss taking when I got to work. I once just sent a photo to my boss of my hand holding the doorknob from inside the apartment. Wasn't about to take the fire escape down. The super didn't have a spare key, but I was able to slide it under the door so they could unlock me from the outside. Was a fun morning. Wish I knew it would happen so I could have slowed down. Had a lady call in and say she couldn't come into work because everything was wrong. I asked her to elaborate. She said Venus was retrograde with Mercury and because she is a Capricorn she is vulnerable and can't come into work as everything is terrible. I'm like, you are trying to call off work because your horoscope is wrong. She screamed, OMG, I knew you wouldn't understand. You are such an Raz, and slammed the phone on me. She didn't last long. Putting aside the horoscope nonsense, that's such a stupid thing to call in at the last minute. We know what the path of the planets is, so it's surely something you can predict rather than something that will jump up on you at the last second. Called in sick. We generally don't ask why for the first 2 weeks. After 2 weeks we have to involve company doctor. Company doctor reported back. Breast enlargement. We were told by HR not to make a fuss even though it was not a good reason to call in sick. There was no previous history. 2 weeks. Very generous company there. I have this employee who is late just about every day. Other than your typical excuses. So far, her house has burned down twice. There used to be a guy that worked our 6 PM 3 AM shift. He would always show up. But like clockwork around midnight he would always come into the office with some kind of emergency that forced him to leave early. It was usually a toss-up between my house is being robbed or my house is on fire. But apparently once he burst into the office and said my wife is being raped and then they are going to rob me and burn down the house. Ducking like and subscribe.